The screech of tires ripped through the night like a verdict no judge could overturn, slamming my world into the guardrail of Interstate 95. Blood pooled warm on my temple as the rain hammered the crumpled hood of Elena's sleek black Audi, her hand, strong, unyielding, gripping mine in the passenger seat, her voice a fractured whisper. "Ruby, stay with me." In that instant, 3 years of feigned admiration shattered, my heart's deepest secret spilling out amid the wreckage. I didn't just admire her. I loved her, with a fire that had smoldered in silence since the day I walked into her office. It was supposed to be just another late night at Hargrove and Associates, the kind where the fluorescent hum of the bullpen faded into the distant clack of keyboards, and Elena Voss, partner, ice queen of Manhattan's corporate litigation world, summoned me to her corner office with that single, clipped email. Now. I smoothed my pencil skirt, heart already racing not from fear, but from the electric pull she exerted without even trying. At 25, fresh out of law school with a mountain of debt and dreams too big for my Brooklyn walk-up, I'd landed this gig as her assistant by sheer dumb luck, or so I told myself. Truth was, I'd tailored my resume to mirror her, Yale undergrad, a thesis on gender equity in boardrooms, even that one summer clerkship at a firm she'd once crushed in court. Admiration? That was the mask. The reality was a crush that bloomed into something fiercer, a lesbian love letter I'd never dared to send. Elena was 35, a decade my senior in years, but a lifetime in poise, her presence as commanding as the skyline she surveyed from her floor-to-ceiling windows. Tall, with raven hair she pinned in a severe chignon that begged to be unraveled, and eyes like polished obsidian, cold to most, but I'd caught flickers, glints of warmth when she thought no one was watching. She was openly gay, a fact whispered in the break room with equal parts awe and envy. The woman who toppled Fortune 500 titans in sexual harassment suits, who dated a string of high-profile artists and activists before retreating into what the tabloids called her solitary fortress. To the firm, she was Voss the Voracious, a shark in stilettos. To me, she was a storm wrapped in silk, and I'd spent 3 years orbiting her, pretending my flushed cheeks were from the coffee runs, not the way her perfume, jasmine and steel, lingered on every file I touched. That first day, she'd barely glanced up from her deposition transcript. Ruby Ellis? Her voice was velvet over gravel, low and precise, slicing through the air like a gavel. I nodded, clutching my notepad like a shield. You're late by 2 minutes. In my world, that's a lifetime. No smile, no handshake, just those eyes pinning me in place, assessing, dissecting. I stammered an apology, but inside, my pulse thundered. God, she was beautiful in her ruthlessness, the kind of woman who made you want to rewrite your own story just to fit into hers. By week's end, I'd memorized her schedule. Black coffee at 6:45 a.m., no sugar. Depositions Tuesdays and Thursdays. That faint scar on her left knuckle from a bar fight in law school, or so the office lore went. I told myself it was professional zeal. Lies we tell to survive. The months blurred into a rhythm of exhaustion and exhilaration. Morning started with me slipping into her office before dawn, arranging her desk just so. Mont-Blanc pen aligned with the edge of her blotter, the latest Harvard Law Review dog-eared at the antitrust section. She'd arrive in a swirl of Burberry trench and quiet authority, nodding once, a crumb of approval that felt like confetti. Good work on the Mitchell brief, she'd say, her gaze lingering a beat too long, or maybe I imagined it. I lived for those moments, crafting excuses to brush past her in the file room, inhaling the faint citrus of her shampoo. At night, alone in my cramped apartment overlooking the East River, I'd replay them. The way her laugh, rare, like a comet, rumbled low during strategy sessions, or how she'd pace in those meetings, skirt hugging her hips, dismantling opponents with surgical precision. But admiration was a fragile facade. By month 6, it cracked under the weight of truth. We'd won the Sinclair case, a multi-million-dollar discrimination suit against a tech giant, and the firm threw a rare party at the Polo Lounge. Elena, loosened by a rare second martini, cornered me by the bar. "You see something in me, don't you?" she murmured, her breath warm against my ear, fingers grazing my elbow. My throat went dry. I wanted to confess then, to say how her fire ignited mine, how in a city of fleeting hookups and grinder ghosts, she was the woman who'd haunted my dreams since I first realized I loved women at 18, fumbling through college crushes. Instead, I played the part. "You're brilliant, Elena. We all do." She pulled back, eyes narrowing, that wall slamming down again. "Careful, Ruby. Admiration is a dangerous currency in this business." From there, the pretense deepened. I dated men, safe, forgettable dates from apps, the kind that ended with polite handshakes and zero spark, just to keep the rumors at bay. The office was a viper pit. One slip, and I'd be labeled the starry-eyed intern chasing the boss. Elena, ever the professional, kept her distance, but the tension hummed like a live wire. She'd assign me the grunt work, endless research on hostile work environments, ironically, her notes scrawled in margins. Deeper. Feel it. I'd pore over them in the dim glow of my laptop, fingers tracing her script, wondering if she knew how her words twisted in me, how I'd fantasize about her unraveling in my arms, her cold exterior melting into moans against my skin. Year 2 brought the storm. Elena took on ProTech Industries, a behemoth accused of systemic bias against queer employees, firings masked as restructuring, benefits denied to same-sex partners. It was her white whale, a case that mirrored her own scars. The ex who'd outed her in a bitter breakup, the firm that had passed her over for partner because clients prefer subtlety. I dove in headfirst, pulling all-nighters at her office, our knees brushing under the conference table as we mapped strategies on whiteboards. "You're relentless," she said one dawn, handing me a lukewarm latte, her fingers lingering on mine. "Like me." The air thickened. I swear she leaned in, her lips parting as if to bridge the gap. But the phone rang, a deposition snag, and the moment evaporated. The kinks escalated. Anonymous tips leaked to the press. Voss's vendetta, they called it, painting her as the angry lesbian out for blood. Threats piled up, hate mail scrawled with slurs, a slashed tire in the garage. I insisted on walking her to her car after hours, my arm brushing hers in the shadowed lot. "You don't have to," she'd protest, but her eyes betrayed gratitude, a vulnerability that made my chest ache. One night, as sirens wailed in the distance, she stopped under the sodium glow of a street lamp. "Why do you do this, Ruby?" "Really?" I froze, the truth clawing at my throat. "Because I'd burn the world to keep you safe. Because loving you from afar is the only fire I know." "Admiration," I whispered, hating the lie. She searched my face, then turned away, the silence heavier than any verdict. The case dragged into year 3, a marathon of motions and mediations that left us both hollowed out. Elena grew sharper, her barbs cutting deeper, snapping at associates, retreating into marathon runs along the Hudson at ungodly hours. I'd find her trail, mix abandoned on her desk, proof she'd skipped meals again. In quiet rebellion, I'd stock her drawer with protein bars, notes tucked inside. Fuel for the fight. She'd never mention them, but they'd vanish, and once, I caught her smiling at her reflection in the window, a secret curve that stole my breath. Our worlds collided most intimately during trial prep. Late one evening, the office emptying like a receding tide, we pored over witness statements in her sanctum. Thunder rattled the glass. A storm mirrored the one brewing inside me. She paced, blouse untucked, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms corded with tension. "This could ruin me," she admitted, voice cracking for the first time. "If we lose." I stood, crossing the room before I could stop myself, my hand on her arm. "You won't. You're unbreakable." Our eyes locked, the air charged, her breath hitching. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd close the distance, lips on mine, hands in my hair, the confession we'd both denied. But she stepped back, jaw set. Go home, Ruby, before you say something we can't take back. I fled to the rain-lashed streets, tears mingling with the downpour, cursing my cowardice. How many nights had I lain awake, imagining her? The curve of her neck under my lips, the way she'd gasp my name in the dark, our bodies entwining in a tangle of sheets and truths. She was everything I'd ever wanted, fierce, flawed, unapologetically herself in a world that punished women like us for daring to love boldly. Yet here I was, her shadow, admiring from the wings while my heart bled in silence. The accident came on a Friday, the kind of autumn night where the leaves clung desperately to branches, mirroring my grip on the lie. We'd wrapped closing arguments that afternoon, pro-tech on the ropes, settlement whispers in the air. Elena, buoyant for once, insisted on driving me home. No cabs in this traffic, she said, tossing me the keys to her Audi with a grin that lit her face like dawn.
You drive.
Consider it a perk. I laughed, the sound foreign in my throat, and we merged onto the Bruckner Expressway, city lights smearing into streaks of gold. We talked, really talked for the first time, not strategy or schedules, but fragments of souls. Her law school days dodging conversion therapy pamphlets from her conservative family in Ohio, the first woman she'd loved, a poet who left her for safer shores. I built these walls for a reason, she said, hand on the gearshift, inches from mine. Love's a liability in this game. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream that I'd scale them all, that my admiration was a Trojan horse for devotion. What about you, Ruby? Who's thawed that heart of yours? Her tone was light, but her eyes, God, those eyes, held mine too long at a red light. Traffic surged, horns blaring. A semi veered from the left lane, too fast, too reckless, its bulk eclipsing the world. I swerved, tires screaming, but it clipped us, a glancing blow that spun us into the divider. Metal twisted, glass exploded like brittle promises, and then darkness swallowed everything but the copper tang of blood and her voice. Ruby. I came to in the ambulance, sirens a distant wail, paramedics barking orders. Elena hovered, pale as moonlight, her suit torn, a gash above her eye. You're okay, she breathed, clutching my hand as if I'd vanish. I thought. The words died, tears carved tracks down her cheeks, smudging mascara into war paint. In the ER, stitched and sedated, the dam broke. Nurses bustled, monitors beeped, but she leaned close, forehead to mine. 3 years, Ruby. 3 years you've looked at me like I'm more than this cold shell. Tell me I'm not crazy. The truth erupted, raw and unfiltered. It's not admiration. I choked, voice hoarse from smoke and screams. It's love. Always has been. From the first glare, the first brief, every damn coffee run. I pretended because I couldn't bear losing you, not as a boss, not as this. Her sob was a revelation, hands framing my face, thumbs tracing my jaw. Foolish girl, she whispered, but her lips met mine then soft, urgent, tasting of salt and second chances. The kiss was a verdict, guilty of loving too hard, sentenced to forever. Recovery blurred into revelation. The case settled the next week, a landmark win, $50 million for the plaintiffs, headlines hailing Voss as the queer rights avenger. But the real victory unfolded in stolen hospital visits, her slipping into my room after hours, fingers interlaced under starched sheets. I saw it. She confessed one midnight, rain pattering the window like applause. Every time you lingered, every note in my drawer. I was terrified of the power you held over me, of what it meant to let someone in after so many betrayals. We navigated the aftermath with cautious grace. HR policies be damned. I tendered my resignation, but Elena fought it, pulling strings for a lateral move to her team as junior associate. Partners, she said firmly, over candlelit dinners at hidden speakeasies in the village. In every sense. Our love was no fairy tale. It came laced with the grit of boardroom battles and bedroom vulnerabilities. She'd wake from nightmares of the crash, and I'd hold her, whispering affirmations until dawn painted the skyline pink. I'd doubt my place in her world of power suits and power plays, and she'd ground me with a look, a touch. "You're my anchor, Ruby. The fire to my frost." Yet it wasn't without tempests. The tabloids caught wind, grainy photos from a gala, our hands linked under the table, and the backlash roared. Voss's assistant scandal, office romance, or power play? Anonymous emails flooded her inbox, echoing the hate from the Protect days. One night, after a particularly vicious op-ed in the Post branded us the firm's forbidden fruit, she shattered a wine glass against the wall of her Tribeca loft. "They'll never let us just be," she raged, pacing like a caged panther. I crossed to her, pulling her into my arms, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long denied. "Then we fight," I murmured against her neck. "Together. Like always." She melted then, kisses turning fervent, a reclaiming that left us breathless on Persian rugs, reaffirming that love, in all its messy glory, was our greatest defense. As winter thawed into spring, we built something unbreakable. Weekends became sanctuaries, hikes in the Palisades where she'd tease my city-soft feet, or lazy Sundays in bed, trading stories of first heartbreaks, hers with a violinist who'd ghosted post-coming out, mine with a college roommate who chose fear over us. Elena softened in ways that humbled me, volunteering at a youth center for LGBTQ runaways, her once cold hands gentle as she coached mock trials. I thrived beside her, my own cases gaining traction, her mentorship evolving into a partnership of equals. "You were never just an assistant," she admitted over rooftop margaritas one June evening, the Empire State glowing like a beacon. "You were the spark that thawed me." The accident scar faded to a thin line on my temple, a badge of our shared survival. But its true mark was etched deeper. In the way Elena's eyes now sought mine across crowded courtrooms, a silent vow amid the chaos. We'd pretend nothing had changed for the firm's sake. Professional nods, clipped emails, but under the table, our ankles hooked, a secret language of touch. It was thrilling, this dance of discretion in a city that devoured secrets for breakfast. Yet the real test came that fall, when Elena's past clawed back. Her ex, the poet who'd outed her years ago, resurfaced with a tell-all manuscript, verses from the voracious, dredging up old wounds with lurid detail. The firm panicked, reputation on the line, clients wavering. Elena, ever the stoic, prepared to face it alone, lawyering up for a defamation suit. "This is my mess," she insisted, holing up in her office till dawn. I wouldn't have it. Bursting in with takeout tie and unyielding resolve, I sat her down. "Our mess," I corrected, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "We expose her, not with rage, but truth. Our story real, raw, against her fiction." We co-authored the counter-narrative, an op-ed in The Atlantic, Love After the Verdict, chronicling not just the betrayal, but the resilience of queer women in power, how love isn't a weakness, but the steel in our spines. It went viral, shares flooding from allies and activists, turning venom into validation. Elena's hand shook as we hit publish, but when the praise rolled in, congratulations from Ruth Bader Ginsburg's estate, invites to speak at Pride panels, her smile was radiant, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of vindication. By our one-year mark, anniversary marked not from the crash, but from that first honest confession in the ER, we'd woven a life tapestry rich with texture. A weekend in Provincetown, where we walked hand in hand on dunes without fear, her head on my shoulder as waves whispered secrets. Back in the city, we mentored a new wave of assistants, Elena's once frosty demeanor now laced with warmth, encouraging them to chase passions unapologetically. "Admiration is the start," she'd say in team huddles, her glance my way a private wink. "But love, that's the revolution." Looking back, those 3 years weren't pretense. They were preparation, a slow burn forging us into something enduring. The accident didn't reveal everything. It ignited it. In a world quick to judge women who love women, especially when one wields gavels and the other pens the footnotes, we'd carved our verdict. Guilty of joy, sentenced to a lifetime of tangled limbs and tender truths. And as we stood on the Brooklyn Bridge that crisp October eve, 3 years to the day since the world spun out, Elena slipped a simple band onto my finger, rose gold, engraved with unbreakable. "Marry me, Ruby," she murmured, wind tousling her hair. Not despite the chaos, but because of it. Tears blurred the skyline, but my yes was clear as a closing argument. The hook that started it all, now the anchor that held us fast. In loving her, I'd found not just a partner, but my purpose. A reminder that even in the coldest courts, the warmest hearts prevail. The gavel fell with a finality that echoed through the marbled halls of the Southern District Courthouse, sealing Protect's fate and ours in equal measure. But victory tasted bittersweet as Elena and I navigated the throng of reporters outside, flashbulbs popping like gunfire, questions hurled like indictments. "Ms. Voss, is it true you're romantically involved with your former assistant?" Her arms stiffened around my waist, a shield against the frenzy, but her voice rang out steady, laced with that unyielding poise. "Ruby Ellis is my partner, in life and in justice." Next question. I squeezed her hand, pulse syncing with hers, a silent thank you for choosing us over optics. In that moment, amid the chaos of Manhattan's relentless pulse, I realized the accident hadn't just revealed my love, it had liberated hers. We retreated to her loft that night, the door clicking shut like a vow renewed. The space was a study in contrasts, sleek mid-century lines softened by bookshelves groaning under feminist tomes and dog-eared paperbacks. Audre Lorde beside John Grisham, a testament to the woman who'd built empires while harboring poets' souls. Elena kicked off her heels, padding barefoot to the kitchen, pouring us scotch neat. To surviving, she toasted, clinking glasses, her eyes tracing the scar on my temple with a tenderness that still unraveled me. We sank onto the leather sectional, city hum a distant lullaby, and for the first time, we dissected the crash not as trauma, but as turning point. "You saved me that night," she said, swirling amber liquid, vulnerability etching lines around her mouth. "Not just from the wreck, from myself." I leaned in, tracing the gash above her eye, now a faint silver crescent. We saved each other. Our lips met slow, exploratory, the kiss deepening as hands roamed, hers unbuttoning my blouse with lawyerly precision, mine tangling in her hair, finally free from its chignon prison. We made love there, on the rug by the fireplace, bodies arching in rhythm to the storm outside, each gasp a confession. The lonely nights, the stolen glances, the fear that we'd never bridge the chasm. Afterward, curled against her, skin still humming, I whispered the question that had gnawed since the hospital. "What now?" The firm, the headlines, it's all out there. She propped on an elbow, dark hair spilling like ink, her gaze fierce. "We redefine it. No more hiding." True to her word, Monday brought a firm-wide memo. Hargrove and Associates celebrates diversity in all forms. Elena Voss and Ruby Ellis's relationship exemplifies our commitment to equality. Whispers rippled through the halls, but so did nods of respect. Colleagues who'd long admired Elena now saw her human, fallible, loved. My new role as junior associate thrust me into the fray, co-counsel on a class action suit against a pharma giant for denying infertility treatments to lesbian couples. Elena mentored with a mix of stern guidance and subtle pride, her red pen now marking encouragement as often as edits. But shadows lingered. The ex's tell-all ballooned into a bidding war, publishers salivating over the scandal behind the shark. Elena's phone buzzed incessantly. Agents, lawyers, vultures circling. One evening, as I prepped dinner in her kitchen, pasta primavera, her favorite, she stared out at the Hudson, glass in hand, lost in a fog I'd rarely seen. "She'll paint me as the villain again," she murmured. "The heartbreaker who weaponized her queerness for clout." I set down the colander, crossing to wrap arms around her waist from behind. Then we write the epilogue. Our truth, unfiltered. That sparked it. Late-night sessions at the dining table, laptops aglow, crafting our Atlantic piece. My words wove through hers, raw anecdotes of the crash's intimacy, the quiet power of choosing love over litigation. Publishing it felt like dropping a bomb. Responses poured in, from tearful DMs from queer lawyers to op-eds echoing our call for corporate accountability. The blowback was swift. Protech CEO, bitter from the loss, countersued for defamation, dragging our names through mud, claims we'd fabricated evidence, twisted testimonies for personal gain. Court dates loomed like thunderheads, Elena's sleep fracturing into insomnia-fueled runs at 4 a.m. I'd wake to cold sheets, trace her path to the balcony where she'd stand, coffee steaming, silhouetted against dawn. I can't lose this, not you, not us, she'd say, pulling me close, our foreheads touching in ritual. We'd face it together. Depositions where I'd counter their smears with ironclad timelines, Elena dismantling their counsel with that signature frost. The judge, a no-nonsense lesbian icon from the 80s bar wars, dismissed it in chambers, her gavel a punctuation on our resilience. Ladies, she said, eyeing us with a knowing smile, keep fighting the good fight. The bench needs more like you. Winter wrapped us in its hush, our love deepening like roots in frost-kissed soil. Holiday lights twinkled from our tree, a Fraser for she'd insisted on chopping herself in the Catskills, axes swinging with laughter that echoed our first unguarded joy. We hosted a solstice dinner for the firm's queer alliance, Elena in a cashmere sweater that hugged her curves, carving turkey with the same precision she brought to cross-exams. Toasts flowed, to breakthroughs, to beloveds. Later, as snow dusted the windows, we danced in the living room to Nina Simone, her body swaying against mine, whispers of forever exchanged in the half-light. Spring heralded growth. I argued my first solo motion, a win for a trans client denied promotion, and Elena was there, front row, her applause silent but thunderous in her eyes. We escaped to Fire Island for a long weekend, ferrying across choppy bays to a cottage where dunes met sea. Days blurred into salt-kissed idyls, bonfires where she'd read me her guilty pleasure romance novels, voice husky with mirth, nights tangled in linens, exploring each other with the curiosity of rediscovery. You're my plot twist, she teased one dawn, tracing patterns on my stomach as gulls cried overhead. The one I never saw coming. Yet the year marked fractures too. Elena's family, those Ohio relics who disowned her post-college, reached out after the Atlantic piece, a terse email. Proud of your success. Visiting NYC next month. Dinner? Her face crumpled reading it, walls I'd thought crumbled rising anew. They'll judge us, she confided over wine that night. See me as the prodigal sinner, you as the temptation. I held her through the doubt, but insisted. Let them see the women we are now. Dinner at a neutral Italian spot became a battlefield of veiled barbs, her father's jokes about alternative lifestyles, her mother's averted eyes. Elena's hand found mine under the table, squeezing till knuckles whitened. This is my life, she said evenly, voice ablade. Ruby's my future. Take it or leave the table. They left early, but a follow-up card arrived weeks later. We were wrong. Love you both. It wasn't absolution, but a crack in the ice, progress in a family as stubborn as the law. Summer scorched the city, our routines a ballet of balance, mornings in bed, her lips on my collarbone waking me gentler than any alarm, afternoons in court, trading knowing glances across aisles, evenings unwinding with rooftop yoga, her downward dog a tease that led to laughter and more. We volunteered at the youth center weekly, Elena leading seminars on navigating closets and courtrooms, her stories inspiring wide-eyed teens to dream beyond fear. One girl, a 17-year-old poet with Elena's fire, pulled me aside post-session. You too? You're proof it gets better than good. Tears pricked. In her, I saw echoes of my younger self, fumbling toward love in a world that whispered, wait. By fall's cusp, as leaves turned amber, Elena proposed, not with fanfare, but quiet certainty on that same bridge where the city sprawled like a conquered kingdom. The ring's inscription glinted. Unbreakable. Our wedding planning wove whimsy into warrior, a small ceremony at the cloisters, vows exchanged under medieval arches, officiated by that judge who dismissed our suit. Vows poured from us, promises to fight fair, love fierce, forgive the fractures. 3 years of pretending led to this, I said, voice thick, but no more masks, just us. The reception spilled into a garden party, allies toasting with champagne flutes, firm partners, activist friends, even her parents, tentative but present. As twilight deepened, Elena pulled me to the dance floor, Coltrane's saxophone weaving through the air. Mrs. Vosselis, she murmured, nuzzling my ear. Sounds like justice. In her arms, the world narrowed to heartbeat and harmony, a testament that love, born in pretense and forged in fire, endures. Our honeymoon whisked us to the Amalfi Coast, a sun-drenched idyll where lemon groves clung to cliffs and the seaside secrets against azure shores. Elena, ever the planner, had booked a villa perched like a crown above Positano, whitewashed walls, bougainvillea cascading in riots of pink, an infinity pool mirroring the Tyrrhenian. We arrived jet-lagged but giddy, shedding suitcases and inhibitions in the courtyard. Finally, she breathed, drawing me into a kiss salted by travel and triumph, her hands mapping familiar paths with renewed hunger. Days dissolved into hedonistic haze, mornings waking to her fingers in my hair, bodies entwining as sunlight slanted through shutters, afternoons hiking terraced paths, her laughter echoing when I'd slip on loose stones, pulling her down into wildflower tangles. Evenings brought introspection. Over limoncello on the terrace, stars pricking the velvet sky, we'd unpack the baggage we'd carried too long. I was afraid of this, Elena confessed one night, swirling citrus liqueur, her profile sharp against the glow. Of loving so completely, it could break me again. I traced the scar on her knuckle, the bar fight story true, a defense of a queer friend in a dive bar brawl. It didn't break us, I replied, lacing fingers. It built us. We shared stories unspoken before. My first love, a barista in college whose touch taught me desire's double edge, ending in ghosting that left me armored, her poet ex, whose verses turned to venom, outing her in a chapbook that sold modestly but scarred eternally. In bearing these, we mended, love a balm deeper than any coastal breeze. Back in New York, reality reasserted with velvet gloves. The firm promoted me to associate, my caseload swelling with suits echoing our own, biased claims from women in finance, denied partnerships veiled as cultural fit. Elena and I tag-teamed them, a formidable duo. Her strategy, my empathy, winning settlements that funded scholarships for queer law students. Office dynamics shifted subtly. The break room banter now included us in wedding recaps. No side eyes, just genuine curiosity. How'd you crack the ice, queen? A paralegal teased over lunch. Elena, overhearing, arched a brow. Patience, persistence, and a hell of a crash course in vulnerability. But paradise has its serpents. Elena's ex published the tell-all anyway, self-printed, viral on indie presses, twisting our story into a cautionary tale of corporate Sappho gone rogue. Reviews stung. Voss's assistant? More like conquest. Hate mail surged anew, slurs scrawled on our door. A brick through the loft window one dawn. Elena hardened, retreating to work till 2 a.m., her text curt. Don't wait up. I'd find her at the kitchen island, brief scattered, eyes red-rimmed. It's poison, she'd mutter, crumpling pages. I'd brew tea, draw her to the couch, massaging knots from shoulders taut as bowstrings. Let me help fight it, I'd urge. Our counter? A podcast series, Verdicts of the Heart, interviewing queer professionals on love's intersections with law. Episodes dropped weekly, Elena's voice steady as she unpacked the ex's lies, my interludes adding levity and heart. Listeners flooded in, turning vitriol to validation, the ex's book fading to footnote. Autumn deepened, leaves carpeting Central Park in gold, our routine a comforting cadence. Weekends meant brunches at Sarah Beth's, her foot hooked round my ankle under the table, plotting pro bono clinics over French toast. One crisp Saturday, we joined a Pride March remnant, a small rally for trans rights post-election jitters, marching arm in arm, signs aloft. Love wins in all courts. Elena spoke impromptu, her words a clarion. We've sued for equality, but lived it too. Don't let fear verdict your joy. Cheers erupted. In the crowd, I saw us reflected, young lovers stealing glances, elders nodding wisdom. It fueled me, this shared fire. Challenges crept in softer guises. Elena's drive bordered burnout. She'd cancel date nights for one more filing, her apology texts laced with guilt. I don't want to become what I fight, she'd say, collapsing beside me. I'd plan interventions, surprise tickets to Broadway, Hadestown, her secret favorite, where we'd lose ourselves in mythic love, emerging teary and renewed. My own doubts surfaced too. Insecurities from assistant days, whispering I was the junior, in more than title. You match me, she'd affirm, over candlelit dinners at home, eyes locking till doubts dissolved. Intimacy became our reset. Slow dances in the kitchen, her leading with a lawyer's confidence, turning to passion on the counter, breathless affirmations murmured against skin. Winter's solstice brought magic. We hosted our annual dinner, now tradition, the loft aglow with fairy lights and faces dear, the youth center poet, now published, firm allies turned family. Elena gifted me a leather-bound journal for our unwritten cases, its pages blank promise. As snow fell soft outside, we slipped away to the balcony, bundled in her coat, watching flakes dance. 1 year married, she toasted with hot toddy, and a lifetime of verdicts ahead. Our kiss warmed the chill, a seal on joys yet to unfold. Spring bloomed defiant, cherry blossoms defiant against late frosts. My caseload crested with a high-stakes trial. A media conglomerate sued for outing an employee, and Elena co-counseled. Our synergy seamless. Closing arguments, her precision, my passion, swaying the jury to a unanimous win. Champagne corks popped in chambers, her hug fierce. You were brilliant. That night, we celebrated at 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. Violin serenading as she slipped a velvet box across linen, earrings, sapphires like her eyes. For the woman who sees me, she said. Tears welled. Love, I realized, is verdicts rendered daily, in gestures and grit. Yet growth demands pruning. Elena's promotion to managing partner loomed, strings attached. Relocate to the D.C. office for a year, lobbying for federal protections. It's a chance to change laws, not just win cases, she argued. Maps spread on the bed. Panic gripped me. Our life, our loves rooted here. Nights dissolved into debates, tears salting pillows. I can't leave you behind, she vowed. Compromise emerged. I joined part-time. Remote for the rest, our love a bridge spanning states. Packing boxes became bittersweet rites, each book a memory, each garment a promise. Summer's heat wave tested resolve. D.C. sweltered, Elena's days marathons of Hill briefings, mine split between virtual hearings and visits home. FaceTime became lifeline. Her exhausted grins at midnight, my updates on Brooklyn barbecues. Distance sharpened desire. Reunions exploded in hotel sheets, urgent and unhurried. This is temporary, she'd gasp, hands claiming. You're my constant. By fall, verdicts aligned, legislation passed, Elena's influence pivotal. We returned full-time, loft welcoming with open arms. The youth center expanded, our funding push bearing fruit, a safe house named Voss Haven. Standing at its ribbon cutting, Elena's arm around me, girls gazing up with hope, I knew our love wasn't just survival, it was salvation, a beacon for those still pretending. The move back to New York felt like reclaiming breath after submersion, the city's cacophony a symphony of homecoming. Elena's D.C. stint had honed her sharper, her advocacy yielding the Equity and Employment Act, a federal shield against workplace discrimination, queer protections enshrined in black-letter law. Headlines hailed her. Voss, the architect of change. But glory's glare brought envy. Whispers in firm corridors questioned if her personal distractions had greased palms. I fielded the subtle digs. Overheard in copy rooms, veiled in emails, my own cases scrutinized anew. They're threatened. Elena dismissed over morning coffee, her kiss a dismissal. Let them stew. We dove into normalcy with fervor. Fall foliage painted the park in fire, our runs along the reservoir a ritual, her pace relentless, mine matching, breaths sinking like vows. One leaf-strewn morning, she veered us to a bench overlooking the water, pulling a thermos of cider. I missed this, she said, leaning into me, head on shoulder. Missed us, without the suits and sessions. Vulnerability peeked through, the Elena who'd once iced out emotions now craving connection. We talked dreams unspoken, adopting, perhaps, a child to raise in our fierce image, a sabbatical in Tuscany, trading gavels for grapes. With you, she added, anything's possible. The firm tested us anew. A merger loomed, bringing conservative partners from Chicago, old-school suits allergic to progressive optics. They eyed our rings, our shared office hours, with thinly veiled disdain. At a strategy dinner, a silver-haired patriarch named Hargrove himself, leaned in over steak. Elena, your talents are undeniable, but optics matter. Tone down the personal for the pitch. Her fork paused midair, eyes narrowing to slits. Optics? Or biases, Frank? Last I checked, this firm stands for equity. The table hushed. I gripped her knee under the cloth, a anchor. She pivoted masterfully, steering to billables. But later, in the car, rage simmered. Bastards think love's a liability. I pulled over, cupping her face. It's our strength. Show them. And she did. The merger sealed on her terms, diversity clauses ironclad. Intimacy evolved, too, deepening into sacred territory. Date nights at hidden jazz clubs, her swaying to sax solos hand in mine. Lazy Sundays baking, her scones lopsided but loved, flour-dusting noses as we'd kiss mid-whisk. Bedroom confessions grew bolder. Fantasies shared in hushed tones, role-play teasing the power dynamics we'd danced around, me as the errant associate, her disciplining, with ties and tenderness. Laughter mingled with moans, trust the true aphrodisiac. Winter's grip brought grief unbidden. Elena's mother fell ill, ovarian cancer, stage 3, pulling us to Ohio for holidays turned hospice vigils. The farmhouse, once a monument to repression, now hummed with Elena's quiet command, coordinating nurses, holding her father's trembling hand. She apologized, Elena whispered one midnight, bedside vigil our vigil. Before the end, said she was proud of me, of us. Tears fell. I held her as sobs racked, love a bulwark against loss. The funeral was a quiet affair, eulogies laced with regret, but Elena's words rang true. She taught me resilience, even in silence. Rest now, Mom, love wins. Back in New York, we scattered ashes in the Hudson at dawn, a ritual of release, her hand in mine as water carried whispers away. Spring's renewal mirrored ours. I discovered pregnancy, not planned, via a donor we'd casually discussed, a curveball that floored us. Elena's face at the doctor's, shock melting to awe, her kiss fervent in the sterile hall. A family, she breathed, hand on my still flat belly. Ours. Preparations blurred joy and jitters. Nursery painted sage green, ultrasounds revealing tiny kicks that made her tear up at work. Firm maternity leave extended, colleagues showering onesies and support. But fears crept, my body's changes, her absences during trials. What if I'm not enough? I confessed one evening, hormones a tempest. She knelt, lips to skin. You're everything. We'll navigate, like always. Summer swelled with anticipation. Baby showers at the loft, laughter echoing as friends cooed over booties. Beach days in the Hamptons, Elena's hand protective on the bump, reading aloud from What to Expect with mock seriousness. The kick that first bonded us, tiny foot against palm, sealed a pact. Parenthood as partnership, no solo verdicts. Labor came fierce in August, a midnight rush to Mount Sinai, Elena's grip vice-like through contractions. You're a warrior, she coached, sweat beading her brow. Our doula a calm chorus. At 4:17 a.m., under fluorescent mercy, our daughter arrived, Leora Vaselis, 7 pounds of fury and wonder, dark curls matted, eyes obsidian like her mother's. Elena held her first, tears streaming. Perfect. Just like you. In that triad, exhaustion ebbing to ecstasy, love redefined, vast as oceans, fierce as storms. Fall's harvest brought harmony. Leora's cries punctuated nights, but Elena's lullabies, off-key but earnest, smoothed edges. We balanced, her rocking babe while I prepped bottles, tag-team feedings turning to tender trios in dawn light. The firm adapted, remote hearings my norm, Elena's briefcases now diaper bag hybrids. Challenges charmed, sleep deprivation sparking silly spats. You used the last clean onesie. Dissolved in giggles and grace. One crisp October eve, a year post-proposal, we walked the bridge again, Leora bundled in a carrier against Elena's chest. City lights twinkled like conspirators, wind whispering affirmations. 3 years from pretense to this, Elena mused, kissing my temple. A lifetime of revelations. Our hands linked over our daughter, a circle complete, love not endpoint, but ever-unfolding verdict. Leora's first holiday season painted our world in wonder, twinkling lights strung across the loft like stars we'd plucked from the sky. Elena, transformed by fatherhood, no, motherhood's alchemy, transformed mundane into magic, decorating the tree with ornaments from her childhood, now reclaimed, her stories weaving tales of Ohio winters softened by memory. This one's from when I was 6, she'd say, hanging a glittered star, Leora gurgling approval from her bouncer. I'd watch, heart swelling, the once cold lawyer now humming carols off-key, flour-dusted from cookie bakes that left the kitchen a joyful disaster. But joy's shadow is vigilance. Elena's caseload, post-merger, ballooned with international arbitration, cases shuttling her to London, Tokyo, leaving me solo parenting through colic nights and first smiles. I'll cut back, she'd promised from airport lounges, FaceTime flickering her weary face. Guilt gnawed her, upon return, she'd dive into daddy duty with fervor, baby wearing through depositions, Leora's coups disarming even sternest clients. My own return to full-time loomed, anxieties churning, daycare hunts, pumping schedules, the juggle of justice and jars. We'll make it work, Elena affirmed, over midnight feedings, her free hand tracing my arm. Team Vaselis, unbeatable. Winter thawed into a trial that tested that bond. A landmark case, suing a religious broadcaster for firing a lesbian meteorologist, claiming moral misalignment. Elena led, I second-chaired, our synergy of force, her cross-exam surgical, my redirects empathetic. But media frenzy reignited old scars. Pundits dissected our family dynamic, questioning impartiality. Late nights in the office nursery, firm perk, Leora napping in a bassinet. We'd debrief, exhaustion etching lines. One eve, as rain lashed windows, Elena snapped, "They're saying I'm soft now, Voss the mom instead of shark." Hurt flared. I rose, cupping her face. Soft? You're steel wrapped in silk. And that's power. Our kiss reignited resolve, lovemaking on the office couch a defiant reclaim, bodies affirming what words assailed. Spring's bloom coincided with victory. Jury deliberated 2 hours, Verdict resounding. $12 million, plus policy reforms. Press conference outside the courthouse. Leora in a sling against me, Elena's arm around us both. This one isn't just for one woman. It's for every family fighting to be seen. Cheers erupted, allies embracing, a ripple of change. Back home, celebration was simple. Takeout from our favorite dim sum spot. Leora's first laugh bubbling as we clinked mugs of decaf. Motherhood's milestones mounted. Leora's first steps, wobbly toward Elena's open arms during a barbecue in Prospect Park, froze time, our tears mingling with guests' applause. Sleep regressions hit like briefs do yesterday, but we tag-teamed, Elena's stories lulling her. My songs from childhood crooned soft. Doubts surfaced in quiet hours, mine, on balancing ambition and apron strings, hers, on legacy beyond ledgers. What if she sees me as the absent one? Elena confided, rocking Leora under nursery stars. Then we show her presence and purpose. I replied, love in action. Summer's heat wave brought adventure. A family trip to Yellowstone, geysers erupting like our passions, bison herds mirroring our steadfast pace. Elena hiked with Leora on her back, narrating geology like case law. I captured photos, frames of fierce joy. Evenings by campfires, esmores sticky on fingers, we dream aloud. Leora's future, schools with pride flags waving, careers unchained by closets. One night, under a meteor shower, Elena pulled me close, Leora asleep in the tent. This, us, her, it's the verdict I never knew to argue for. Fall ushered challenges anew. Elena's mentor, a trailblazing judge, passed, stroke, sudden, leaving a vacancy. Elena eyed, federal bench appointment. It's the pinnacle, she said, applications sprawling across the desk. Excitement warred with wariness. DC again, scrutiny intensified. We'll weather it, I assured, but nights bred arguments, logistics clashing with longing. I can't uproot us for another maybe, I snapped one eve, Leora fussy in my arms. Elena's eyes flashed hurt. This is for her future, for equity etched in precedent. Silence stretched. Reconciliation came slow. Apologies over wine. Compromise forged. Trial run in D.C. Weekends home. Our love the lodestar. Winter's chill deepened resolve. Elena's nominations sailed through committees, her hearings a masterclass, poised under fire, defending record with unassailable grace. Protests dotted the steps, conservatives decrying her activist agenda, but supporters rallied, our family front row, Leora waving a tiny gavel toy. Confirmation night, champagne toasts in the Russell Senate office, Elena's oath sworn under chandeliers. I do solemnly swear. Her glance found me, a vow within the vow. Spring in D.C. bloomed tentative. We rented a row house in Georgetown, Federalist charm, cherry trees framing windows, Leora toddling on creaky floors, Elena's robes hanging like banners. Commuting blurred boundaries. I'd fly up Fridays, her chambers a haven of hushed power. Challenges charmed, toddler tantrums amid marble halls, Elena mediating with judicial calm. My remote practice thriving, but isolation nipping heels. Date nights salvaged sanity, kayaking on the Potomac, her laughter echoing as we paddled tandem. Summer's swelter tested metal. Elena's first ruling, striking down a state ban on gender-affirming care for minors, opinion laced with empathy and law. Backlash roared, death threats, marshals at our door. But so did praise, amicus briefs pouring in. One night, sirens wailing distant, she woke screaming from nightmares, gavels morphing to crashes. I held her, whispering, "You're safe. We're safe." Lovemaking followed, slow and anchoring, reaffirming roots amid relocation. By fall, verdicts verdant. Leora's preschool acceptance, my partnership offer from a D.C. firm. We debated permanence, New York pulling like tide, justice calling here. Wherever you judge home, Elena said, leaves swirling in Rock Creek Park, I'll rule beside you. Choice crystallized over Thanksgiving, family gathered. Stay, build legacy in the capital, visits home a heartbeat away. Winter's end brought epiphany. Elena's clerk gifted a scrapbook, cases chronicled, Leora's crayon scrawls interspersed. Leafing through, tears fell. This is our docket, love's long arc. In her arms, under beltway stars, I knew, from assistant's admiration to judge's gavel, our story was testament. Love not linear, but layered, enduring. DC's rhythm settled like a well-fitted robe on Elena, her chambers in the federal courthouse a sanctum of oak and order, framed photos of us three anchoring the chaos of dockets. Leora's laughter echoed through halls during visits, her tiny feet pattering on marble as clerks cooed. Future Justice Ellis Voss. Elena's rulings flowed, measured, momentous, upholding voting rights for marginalized communities, dismantling barriers with prose as poetic as persuasive. You're changing the world, I'd say, kissing her in the robing room, the scent of wool and wisdom clinging. Her smile, once rare, now reflex. We are. Yet power's pedestal is lonely. Elena's days stretched into evenings of en-bank reviews, her homecomings delayed by strategy sessions with clerks young enough to be protégés. I'd bridge the gaps. Dinner simmering, Coke oven her favorite, Leora's artwork taped to fridge like decrees. One autumn dusk, as she slipped in late, briefcase heavy, I met her with wine and worry. You're fading, I said, tracing shadows under her eyes. She deflated onto the stool, head in hands. The weight, every decision a precedent, every dissenter a dagger. What if I'm wrong? Vulnerability, once armored, now bare. I pulled her close, Leora asleep upstairs. Your human love. That's your strength. That night, we reclaimed rhythm, baths drawn steaming, bodies soaping slow, whispers weaving worries into wonders. Family anchored us. Leora's third birthday, a garden party in our backyard, balloons bobbing like subpoenas, cake smeared on chubby cheeks. Elena, in jeans and tee, casual armor, chased her through sprinklers, shrieks of delight piercing the air. Gifts unwrapped, a wooden gavel from Grandma, Ohio visits now annual, bridges mended, books from me on fierce women, Ruth Bader, Audre Lorde. As dusk fell, fireflies dancing, Elena scooped Leora, swaying to a phantom lullaby. This is justice, she murmured. My heart swelled, from cold office to warm hearth, love's evolution humbled. Challenges crested subtly. My DC practice boomed, class actions against Big Pharma for reproductive inequities, but billable hours clashed with bedtime stories, guilt a constant co-counsel. Elena noticed, pulling strings for flex time, but resentment simmered unspoken. One crisp November morn, post-drop-off, we argued over coffee. I flew here for us, not to solo parent. I vented. Her jaw tightened. I'm building barriers down for her for all. Silence stormed. Reconciliation brewed over walks in Dunbar Noaks, leaves crunching confessions. We're partners, she said, hand in mine. Rebalance the scales. Therapy followed, couple sessions with a queer therapist unpacking power imbalances, emerging tighter, tools for the toolkit. Winter's hush heralded harmony. Holiday cards arrived, firm alumni, youth center kids now teens, thanking Elena's rulings for safe schools. We hosted a solstice seder, blending traditions, her Jewish roots with my Irish Catholic lilt, Leora lighting candles with solemn awe. Toasts to endurance, to elders lost and lessons gained. New Year's dawned with resolutions, date nights mandatory, one weekend quarterly unplugged. Spring unfurled scandals. A clerk accused Elena of favoritism, baseless, born of a denied extension, but leaks twisted it to nepotism in robes. Hearings loomed, congressional hounds bang. Elena armored up, but cracks showed. Pacing nights, Scotch need her crutch. They'll paint me corrupt because of us. Rage and fear tangled. I rallied allies, op-eds co-signed, Character witnesses marshaled. The inquiry cleared her in days. Ethics committee unanimous. Judge Voss's integrity unimpeachable. Victory tasted of vindication, but scarred. She tendered a wellness leave. 2 weeks in the Berkshires. Cabin rented. No Wi-Fi. Just woods and us. The retreat healed. Days hiking birch trails. Leora collecting acorns like evidence. Evenings by hearths. Elena reading aloud from dog-eared mysteries, her voice a balm. One fog-shrouded morn, we canoed on a glassy lake, paddles dipping silent. I almost lost sight, she admitted, water lapping, of why I fight. I leaned back, hand trailing ripples. For moments like this. For love's quiet court. Tears splashed, kisses followed, fierce under evergreens, reaffirming roots. Summer solstice brought serendipity. Leora's preschool play, her as a brave lawyer bird, wings cardboard, drew laughs and lumps in throats. Elena, front row, filmed teary-eyed, her applause thundering. Post-show ice cream, sticky-fingered bliss, a call came. Supreme Court shortlist, Elena's name floated. Shock rippled. Ambition's siren sang, but caution tempered. DC's home now, she said, weighing. But the court? That's eternity. Discussions deepened. Impact versus intimacy, legacy's long shadow. We tabled it, focusing on now. Beach weeks in Rehoboth, queer families dotting dunes, Leora building sandcastles with girls like her. Fall's equinox equaled expansion. My book deal landed. From assistant to advocate. Love and law in the age of equity. Memoir laced with our story, anonymized for safety. Elena championed it. Editing drafts with red pen gentle. Signings buzzed. Readers sharing tales mirroring ours. Hidden crushes. Crash course confessions. Royalties funded a scholarship. Rubies rising. For queer law students. Elena presiding first awards. Winter whispered wonders. Leora's first snow angel. Elena towing her on a sled through the mall. Capitol Dome sentinel. Holiday travels to Ohio. Full circle, her father's story softening. Toasts to my girls. Back home, New Year's Eve. Rooftop party. City fireworks blooming as we danced. Leora between us. A family forged in firelight. By Spring's kiss, the shortlist solidified. Nomination imminent. Elena accepted. Resolve radiant. For her, she said, hand on Leora's curls. For every hidden heart. Confirmation gauntlet awaited, but we faced it fortified. Love our lodestar. Verdicts our verse. The nomination hit like a thunderclap, headlines blaring. Voss for Supremes. The lesbian litigators leap. Elena's face on every channel, poised in pearls, Leora and I flanking at the Rose Garden ceremony. The president's hand on her shoulder, a historic seal. Judge Voss embodies justice's evolution. He intoned, words we'd scripted in sweat-soaked strategy sessions. Cameras flashed, questions pelted, on rulings, on personal life, but Elena parried with grace, her family-first mantra disarming detractors. Back in the residence, doors sealed, she collapsed against me, exhale ragged. It's real now. Leora's hug grounded us, her mommy justice, a talisman. Spring's Senate gauntlet ground gears. Hearings spanned weeks, Judiciary Committee a coliseum of crossfire, senators probing precedents, allies amplifying, foes filibustering with dog-whistle doubts. Can a mother judge impartially? One sneered. Elena prepped relentlessly, mock sessions in our living room, Leora questioning with stuffed animals. I'd coach empathy angles, her clerks drilling details. Nights, exhaustion etched, we'd unwind with baths, bubbles for Leora, wine for us, her head on my lap, fingers combing wet strands. You're unstoppable, I'd murmur, kisses trailing collarbones, intimacy our intermission. Controversy crested mid-May, leaked emails from her firm days, twisted to suggest bias in queer cases. Pundits piled on, Voss's vendetta, reviving ex's venom. Threats escalated, Mail bombs intercepted, security shadowing school runs. Fear coiled tight. Leora sensed it, clingy at bedtimes. Elena armored for filibuster, but privately fractured, pacing at 3 a.m., whispering, "What if they break us?" I'd pull her to bed, bodies entwining urgent, love a liturgy against dread. They won't. We're the unbreakable clause. Allies mobilized. Op-eds from Ginsburg clerks, endorsements from bar associations, youth center testimonials flooding inboxes. I testified, voluntary, voice steady. Elena's not just a judge, she's justice incarnate, tempered by love's lessons. The chamber hushed, senators nodded. Leora's drawing, crayon-robed figure with a heart, went viral, baby bar memes softening the siege. Summer's solstice dawn deliverance, 52 to 48 vote, confirmation sealed. Cheers erupted on C-SPAN. We watched from chambers, Leora waving flags, Elena's sob muffled in my shoulder. Swearing in September under autumn oaks, Chief Justice's gavel fell. "Justice Boss, welcome." Robes donned, she turned to us, eyes brimming. "For you too." The bench awaited, her chambers a hive of history, clerks buzzing like bees to her bloom. Fall's foliage framed transition. Elena's first arguments, abortion rights, a dissent drafted with fire that echoed RBG's ghost. Commuting from home, her mornings rushed, kisses stolen over cereal, Leora's by Justice Mommy, a benediction. Evenings, decompression rituals. Park picnics, her recounting oral arguments like bedtime tales, Leora's questions piercing. "Did you win?" "Every day's a win, Bean." Challenges charmed in new robes. Media scrutiny lingered, the court's Sapphic swing vote, but Elena wielded wit, quipping at law reviews. My book launched to acclaim, tours balancing with toddler time, Elena FaceTiming from bench breaks. Distance nipped during her DC immersions, overnight stays for N-banks, but reunions reignited. Hotel trysts, silk sheets, and secrets, her "I've missed my advocate" growled low. Winter's wonder deepened. Leora's preschool holiday pageant, Elf Ears Askew, singing Silent Night, off-key, drew Elena from session, her applause echoing halls. Family ski trip to Aspen, slopes conquered tandem, Elena towing Leora on toboggans, hot cocoa chases melting mishaps. New Year's at the court, historical first, justices mingling, Elena dancing with me under chandeliers, a waltz of worlds colliding. Spring's renewal brought ripples. Elena's first majority opinion, affirming marriage equality expansions, penned with prose that quoted Lord, "Your silence will not protect you." Dissenters railed, but impacts rippled. Weddings nationwide, thanks letters flooding. Personally, Leora's curiosity bloomed. "Why two mommies?" prompting story times on families diverse. "Love decides," Elena explained, simple as statute. Summer's heat haze hosted homecoming. A month-long recess, we fled to Maine, cottage on Acadia shores, lobster boils, and lighthouse hikes. Elena shed robes for wetsuits, snorkeling with Leora, giggles bubbling like waves. Evenings, bonfires crackling, she'd muse on tenure's arc, not power, but purpose, shaping tomorrows. My sequel brewed, bench and beyond, her forward a love letter in legalese. Fall's equinox equaled equilibrium. Leora started kindergarten, backpack comically large, Elena's drop-off tears rivaling mine. Court term ramped, affirmative action cases, Elena's swing pivotal. Nights, she'd debrief over dinners Leora's court stories, demands drawing laughs. Intimacy evolved tender. Post-bedtime, her hands on my hips, slow dances turning sultry, whispers of my justice against skin. Winter whispered legacy. Elena mentored, shadow programs for queer clerks, her door open as heart. Our 10th anniversary, from crash to chambers, marked with a vow renewal in the cloisters, Leora Flower Girl, vows updated. Through verdicts and variables, I choose you. Guests toasting. to love's long opinion. By Spring Symphony, our story sang, from pretended admiration to public pillar, love the thread weaving all, unyielding, unapologetic, unending. A decade post-crash, our life unfolded like a well-argued brief, structured, yet surging with surprise. Elena's Supreme Court tenure solidified her as a progressive force, opinions cascading like precedents, environmental justices tying corporate greed to generational theft, voting reforms fortifying democracy's foundations. You're rewriting the Constitution. I tease over breakfast, Leora now 8, devouring cereal and debates alike. Her eye roll. Mom, that's Dad's job. We'd laugh. Our dad, jokes a family shorthand, donor anonymous but love abundant. Spring's bench brought benchmarks. Leora's school play, her as Atticus Finch, gavel in hand, mirrored Elena's world, post-performance Q&A drawing giggles. Do you argue with superheroes? Elena, in the audience, swelled with pride, her post-show speech. My little lawyer, justice starts with questions. Summer's rotated rituals, Maine cottages yielding to national parks, Zion's red rocks framing family hikes, Elena's backpack stuffed with trail mix and tomes, Blackstone beside bird guides. Challenges evolved, sophisticated. Elena's dissents drew fire, conservative justices icing her in conferences, leaks painting her activist. Public spats simmered, op-eds accusing bias, protests at the steps. She'd vent in chambers, fists clenched on oak. They reduce me to labels, lesbian, liberal, liability. I'd visit, Leora in tow, her drawings disarming. For grumpy justices, hugs. Therapy sustained us. Now family sessions, unpacking pressures on Leora, her two-mom anxiety, voiced brave. I worry you'll fight too much, she'd admit. Elena's hug. Fights forge fairness, Bean. But home's our haven. Intimacy innovated. Date nights escaped robes. Speakeasies in Shaw, her in little black dress, my hand on thigh under tables, sparks reigniting. Anniversaries adventured. Hot air balloon over Napa, baskets swaying as we toast, to lifting each other. Bedroom boundaries blurred playful, role reversals, her suspect to my interrogator, laughter lacing lust. Fall's term tested tenacity. A blockbuster case. Corporate personhood limits, Elena's opinion threading commerce with conscience. Oral arguments crackled, her questions scalpel sharp, stare-downs legendary. Victory narrow, 5-4. Celebrations subdued. Chambers champagne, clerks cheering. But toll tallied, migraines mounting, Elena's sleep fractured. Pace yourself. I'd urge, massages melting knots. Wellness weekends followed, yoga retreats in Virginia, her downward dog defiant. Winter's warmth wove wonders. Leora's bat mitzvah, blending faiths, Torah portion on justice, drew kin coast to coast, Elena's speech tear-jerking. From hidden hearts to high court, you've taught me mercy's measure. Dances followed, her twirling Leora, then me, under chuppah lights. Spring's renewal rippled. My firm elevated me, partner, pro bono lead, cases collaborating with Elena's clerks, ethical walls navigated nimble. Book 2 soared. Audiobook narrated by us, voices intertwining tales. Leora's activism budded. School GSA president, bake sales funding shelters. Summer sojourn. Italy, Tuscany hills rolling like verdicts verdant. Vineyards cycled, Elena leading tastings, Leora harvesting grapes sticky sweet. Evenings and plein-air dinners, her guitar strumming folk tunes, my harmony hesitant but heartfelt. Fall's frost-framed fortitude. Elena's mentorship bloomed, a fellowship for LGBTQ jurists, applicants awed. One mentee, a trans advocate from the South, confided, "You made space for me." Tears pricked. Legacy lived. Winter whispered, what ifs? Retirement rumors swirled. Elena at 55, tenure optional. Not yet, she'd say, but musings mounted. Philanthropy pivot, teaching at Yale. Time for us, she'd muse, hand on mine. Leora's launch loomed, college apps, dreams of diplomacy. Wherever you wander, Elena vowed, roots here. By spring's flourish, full circle, a decade's verdicts validated. From assistant's awe to justice's gavel, our love lectured loud, resilient, radiant, revolutionary. On the bridge once more, Brooklyn's span, Leora tween tall between, Elena squeezed my hand. Best decision ever. My kiss, guilty as charged. 20 years from the screech that shattered silence, our story stands etched in eternity. Elena's robes retired to a Yale deanship, her lectures igniting generations. My practice pivoted to policy, advising on global equalities. Leora, now 25, a human rights lawyer in Geneva, her wedding last summer a circle of cheers, her bride's hand in hers echoing ours. The loft, once a sanctuary for two, now hosts grandkids' romps, twin boys, wild with wonder, clambering for Nana Elena's court tales. Yet core remains, mornings merged, coffee shared, her fingers tracing my laugh lines. Still my favorite verdict. She'll whisper, kisses kindled. Challenges chronicle, health scares weathered, losses mourned, but love's ledger balances boundless. From pretended poise to profound partnership, we've proven, in love's court, the heart always rules.